Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Together, the new supernatural body horror film written and directed by Michael Shanks. It stars real life married couple Dave Franco and Alison Brie, and they play a couple who moves to the countryside but find themselves encountering a mysterious force that horrifically causes changes to their bodies. This film was pretty high on my to-do list after I saw the trailer for it, and I'm like, okay, color me intrigued. This seems interesting. I'm a huge fan of Dave Franco and his lovely wife Alison Brie, and to see them in a film together, hey, you can't go nowhere but up. And I'm a big horror guy, so that box was checked. And even though I'm a horror guy, I'm not a big body horror guy. As much as I love horror, gore doesn't bother me, blood doesn't bother me. But something about David Cronenberg's style of body horror just it's hard for me to watch. It's very difficult for me to watch. But I was willing to dive in on this film. And this isn't your typical summer blockbuster film that will come out around this time of the year. I mean, we're just a couple of days removed from Fantastic Four, about a week or so removed from Superman and Jurassic World, all these big tentpole blockbuster films. And we got this small body horror film that's coming out just on the tail end of that, right before we enter at least about to enter into the fall season. We got one more month of summer left. But I was just looking for an entertaining film for an hour and a half. I wasn't looking for anything special. Just a, well-made horror movie, which is missing this summer. I thought we would get one. I know what you did last summer, even though I don't know what I was thinking there, but we didn't get it there. We've got some decent horror films throughout the year, but I was waiting for that big summer horror movie. And wouldn't you believe, is this small little independent style horror film called Together. It is crazy. I love this movie. I mean, I absolutely loved this movie. I'm almost ready to say it's one of my favorite films of 2025. It's that good of a movie. It's nothing earth-shattering. We're not reinventing the wheel here. There's no super M. Night Shyamalan twist that happens and all this other. It's nothing like that per se, but it's so well made. Writer director Michael Shanks, who I believe this is his directorial debut. I couldn't tell. This looks like a film directed by somebody who is seasoned, who has been through the ups and downs of Hollywood and finally mastered his craft after his fourth or fifth film. This is a right out the bat first swing home run. Awesome job. I just hope and pray that it isn't a one-hit wonder, because there is clear talent here. This dude directed the crap out of this movie, man. I am so impressed with the pacing, the tone, the way he used the camera, the way that every scene in this film felt tense. Every single scene felt like something was about to happen, even though there is comedy in this movie. I mean, you have Alison Brie and Dave Franco, who are comedic actors. They're not comedians, but they're mostly known for their comedic films that they've been a part of. I mean, Alison Brie, we know her from Community and film, TV shows and films like that. Dave Franco being a part of the 21 Jump Street and the Now You See Me franchise. Nothing serious, nothing that screams that they're searching for Academy Awards, but they are comedic actors, and this film has comedy. This film is surprisingly funny. I mean, not silly funny, not dumb funny, not naked gun type funny that that's about to come out. No, I'm thinking like genuine comedy, from these two performers. And I say performers loosely because these are two real life married couples. And so the chemistry is there. So it shouldn't be a problem there, because if it was a problem with the chemistry between those two, they need to go to couples counseling in real life. But it's good to see that they are uh, uh, together, no pun intended, on and off the screen. But this was a great balance of horror and comedy, and Michael Shanks deserves a pat on the back. From the opening scene to the final shot of the movie, it's like your mouth is wide open. I mean, the opening scene is so disturbing, and it lets you know right off the bat that this isn't going to be a cutesy romantic comedy, disguised as a horror film. This lets you know right off the bat that you're in for some whacked out stuff in this movie. And that was a good decision, because that set the tone. It really put me in the mindset that, okay, we're in for something different, and boy, did we get something different. As I mentioned, I'm not a big body horror fan, but this was the right amount of body horror. It wasn't grotesque to a degree. Yeah, it gets grotesque in moments where you're like, what is going on? What is happening right now? But for the most part, it's done subtly. It's done in a dare I say, beautiful way. Is nothing to make you turn away or stop eating while you're watching it type body horror. And I appreciated it so much, but at the same time, it did let your imagination do the work for you. It starts it off and your mind takes it the rest of the way, unfortunately, for me. But I enjoyed it for that as well. And now, this isn't a perfect film. You do have a couple of gripes that I like to display here. For example, some of the supporting characters kind of take a back seat, and that's pretty much the definition of supporting. I get that, but it's not enough story behind the supporting characters. The supporting characters will pop up in one scene, and you'll never see them again. With the exception of one who plays a big part in the end. But other than that, everybody else was just one scene, that's it. Come in for one day, shoot, and that's it. That's basically what it felt like for the rest of the cast. Now, in their defense, this movie is called Together, and this movie is centered around our two lead stars, Dave Franco and Alison Brie. And I get that. And is not a big gripe, but it's kind of weird, that people will pop up and leave, and these are important people in our two main characters' lives, and you don't hear from them no more. That was the part that kind of was like, huh? They never popped up at all, but whatever. My other gripe is the end of the movie. Even though it was a very satisfying ending, it wasn't an ending that I particularly saw coming. And this is coming from somebody who have watched over 46 years of film, and I pretty much done seen it all. At least I thought. But this was different. Nothing new. I've seen it before, but it's done in a good way. It fits this movie perfectly. I was expecting it to go one way, and it actually went another way. And, it added to my enjoyment level. Like, okay, okay, I can deal with that. But before we got to that end, the setup for the end was kind of thrown together, and it came off rushed. You get it kind of fell into the Hollywood film trope that we got to have an expedition dump at the end to explain what's all going on here. And it's like, man, y'all could have did that throughout the film, just leave seeds. But it was more of like, woof, here you go. And then about 10 minutes later, the movie's over. It just felt kind of rushed to give an explanation. And I was up to that point, I had came to grips with the fact we were not going to get an explanation because I didn't need one. Me personally, I didn't need one. I was just enjoying the ride that I was on. But those were my only two gripes with the film. Other than that, this film was great, man. Great. The rewatchability on this is super high for me. I recommend this. I recommend this. And shockingly enough, I would say this is a perfect date movie. This is a perfect date movie, believe it or not. I know, a body horror film, but it has a strong message about relationships in this film. And I was sitting there, thinking about my relationship when it was all said and done. Like, man, I need to reevaluate something. And if that was the goal that they were looking to accomplish here, they accomplished it with me. So good job on Michael Shanks and Alison, Brie, and Dave Franco on this amazing film. Together gets a letter grade of an A-. Yeah, man, it's one of the best films of the year. I'm putting it out there. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there. I would love to know, are you planning on checking out Together? And if you're listening to this later, how did you enjoy Together? Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also contact the show through social media. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel. Smash that like button and share this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Together. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.